What's up, everyone? This is Megan James, and you're joining us today on The Megan James Show. If you're just tuning in, you haven't listened to us before, man, welcome. We're always happy to have new listeners. I hope that you listen for a little bit, and if you like us, subscribe. We love to have new people. If you have questions, please message us. We actually have an Instagram platform. It's legacy_lifestyle_coaching. Legacy Lifestyle Coaching. Check us out on there. We do frequent, like every probably couple of days to every week. We put out polls, what kind of new content you guys would like to be listening to, things that you're looking for, any kind of advice. We publish columns and videos and podcasts on our website, legacy-lifestyle.com. We have our contact information on there as well. So anytime you want to hit us up, get in touch, we love to talk to you guys. It's probably my favorite pastime. So with that in mind, today's episode is going to be a little unique. I'm here to talk to you today and hopefully bring some fire about a topic that's very personal to me. The reason being is it's my why. When people ask me, why do you have a podcast? Why are you building this company? Why are you a life coach? Why are you this? Why do you focus on high performance habits? So I get this question a lot because people like to kind of hear stories, and I'm a storyteller, but they like to get the background behind the business, which is cool to me. I love history, so I'm all about it. One of the reasons why I started this particular podcast is because when I got into life coaching and I started going to these conferences, I kept seeing all these men on stage speaking and building businesses. Guys like Gary Vee, Tim Ferriss, Tony Robbins, and that's awesome. Those guys know their stuff and they should be speaking on a platform. But the only female I saw was Rachel Hollis. And there was no family. And by family, for those of you who are in the LGBTQ community, you know what that means. There was nobody up there that was gay. There was nobody up there that was a lesbian. There was nobody up there that was questioning or bisexual or somebody who didn't meet your heterosexual nuclear family. And it made me feel kind of left out. It wasn't their fault. These people are succeeding at the highest level, and that's just who they are. They're being authentically them, and they just so happen to be straight. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I realized there was this huge gap, you know? There was no one who was out and proud. So most people that do these speeches that are motivating and they go to these conferences, a lot of times they're based off more Christian lifestyles and those heterosexual marriages, which is fantastic for them because they're being authentically them. But because I didn't fit into that category, and I know that so many of my followers didn't either, there was this whole niche that was just being missed and an audience that was suffering because of it. They didn't have anybody they could relate to on stage, so they weren't going to these self-development conferences. They thought, well, I'm not like them. I can never be like them. So what's the point of me trying to emulate what they're saying if I can't even relate to them? Which is our first mistake. These people all have stuff that we can take from, things that they can offer us that we may not see immediately on its surface, but when you're engaging at these conferences, they're vital in so many ways. But because I saw this huge gap, I knew that if I couldn't identify with anyone on stage, I likely wasn't the only one, and I didn't want that hindering somebody else's growth. And I knew that I had to do something because it doesn't seem like a whole lot of other people are in a position to step up. So I firmly believe we're placed on this earth for a reason. Each of us has a purpose. I've survived a ridiculous amount of shit that, quite frankly, even doctors have told me I probably shouldn't have survived. Something that has always driven me to keep going. Even when I didn't know why, I could feel a driving force behind me tell me to keep going. And during my short time on this earth, I've had the greatest pleasure of being an impact in so many lives, as well as even more people being an impact in my own life. Each day you wake up, someone else's life has changed just by your presence. The customer at the gas station that you held the door open for. The coworker you helped complete a big project before a deadline. Your sister you have given a pep talk to when she was going through a bad breakup. Last year, I started putting myself out there more, meeting new people, helping more people. This year, I'm making it a goal to reach a wider audience on more platforms. I plan to talk about the awesome stuff that I've been through, as well as the not so awesome stuff, and what things I've incorporated into my life to get me through it all. If it helps even one person get through an obstacle in their life, then it'll be worth it, right? So this podcast is more about reaching a wider audience, because I know that those of us in the podcasting community, we got to build each other up. We got to help lift each other up, because generally if you're listening to podcasts, it's because you want to be more knowledgeable. Maybe you want to own a skill, but you're trying to better yourself. So the more information you can get about how other people bettered themselves, the more likely you're able to be able to accomplish your goals. And I've learned that by holding on to all of my crap and never talking about what's helped or hurt me, I've not put myself out there enough to help others. It's great if you have the solutions to fix things in your own life, but what's even better is if you share those solutions with others so that they can take advantage of them too. What took you 10 years to learn, you might be able to condense into like a 10-minute session and change somebody else's life so they don't have to wait 10 years to fix what they're currently going through. I won't just be speaking from personal experience on this platform. I'm going to be interviewing successful people from all over with all kinds of backgrounds. We'll mostly be talking about their habits, relationships, businesses, finances, health, things that are common, things that we want to know more about. So if there's anything any of you are going through that you could use some advice on, or if there's a burning question you have about a specific topic within those fields, or maybe something you've researched and can't find much information on, let me know. I want to hear from you guys. I can't promise you that I automatically know the answer, but I'll do everything I can to find that answer for you from a reliable source. So after going through a lot of these conferences and meetings, I just didn't feel like there was a single person I could identify with. I'm bringing it back home, guys. Went off on a tangent, but here we are. And because I couldn't connect to anybody on that platform or even on my team, I didn't feel like there was something that I could talk about or express, because these things all promoted positive attitudes, right? So I didn't feel like I could come to them and be like, look, I don't identify with anybody here. There's no one like me. Me and my wife are going to these conferences, and, we have stuff going on and that you guys don't have going on. There's stuff that, we have issues with that you guys don't. And stuff that is said on stage can offend us, but it may not offend you because it's not applicable to you. I didn't feel like I was in a space that I was accepted in. So mostly because the leaders of this particular organization spent their time on stage bashing the LGBTQ community, specifically transgenders. I really, really got down about that. They also spoke about very politically charged issues like abortions, and it was clear that these conferences were more right-winged. They were deep Southern Christians. There's nothing wrong with that. But when you're promoting your own agenda and trying to convince everyone to join your cause, it can always cause a divide. I was there for business. I was not there for a religious experience. I was not there for other things. So for me, that became an issue pretty quick, especially when you start bashing people in my community that I consider my family. While I'm not personally transgender, I do have many friends who are transgender, and I know the struggles they go through. And as a gay, we've all been bashed our whole lives and told that we don't matter. We've been told all this negative bull crap. So to pay money to go to a conference, to have the leader of that conference and that organization up on stage bashing the community again, I'm not going to ever give him money ever again. Because to pay and fuel somebody who has so much hatred for a community that they don't understand, that's against my core values. So I started to realize I didn't really give a crap what those people thought of me. I didn't want to be the perfect image of their company. They were only interested in their own stuff, and I didn't meet those guidelines. The stuff that they were interested in, I was not a part of that, which was fine. So for me, I know that if I feel left out, there's likely a lot of other people that are left out. So I built this because the stuff I'm doing here locally should reach a higher audience. I like working with businesses. I like working with students. And I like working with people. Especially in today's time when for right now, one of the leading causes of death, and I just read this on LinkedIn. If you guys are not on LinkedIn, you're missing out. I don't care if you own a business. If you don't own a business, it doesn't matter. Everyone needs to develop a personal brand, which I've talked about previously, but it's really, really important that you publish this brand on multiple databases. I understand that this mindset some people have is, well, I don't need to be on LinkedIn because I have a job. has nothing to do with getting a job, keeping a job, getting a new job. It's networking, and you should always be networking. You should always be developing your brand. Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the Megan James Show. I apologize for the interruption, but I really just wanted to take this time to talk to you about something important. Did you know that you can actually get paid just for listening to this podcast? I know it sounds insane, but it's true. We just discovered this free new app called Podcoin, and it literally pays you to listen to podcasts. So here's how it works. You listen to podcasts and you earn Podcoin while you listen. Then you turn that Podcoin in for gift cards at places like Amazon or Starbucks. Or if you're a good, generous person, you can even donate those Podcoins to charity. The more you listen, the more you earn. So here's what you do. Download the app right now on iPhone or Android, and I have a special code for you today. Simply use our code Megan James, and you'll get 300 Podcoin just for signing up. And if you listen to enough of us on here, then you can get a cappuccino at Starbucks or an awesome gift card on us. So go ahead and go listen to the podcast or virtually any podcast on Podcoin and sign up with the code Megan James. I swear it'll change the way you listen to podcasts. Thanks for listening. And here's the rest of our show. But one of the things that I saw, it was actually today, was that one of the most common deaths, or I forget how he phrased it. I think it was, the U.S. life expectancy is declining for the first time since World War I and the Spanish influenza. And the cause is actually drug overdoses, chronic liver disease, and suicide. These are all actually known as deaths of despair. So increased death rates for unintentional drug overdoses in particular, a subset of unintentional injuries, contributed to the negative change in life expectancy observed in recent years. This is the CDC report. They talked about how 10% increase in minimum wage could clearly reduce suicides in young adults. I don't know much about that. I mean, it makes sense. You pay them more, maybe they're less depressed because they're not so much in financial ruin. But it's sad that so many people are now dying because of drug overdoses. They're using the drugs to escape their lives, that they don't feel comfortable in their own lives. They're depressed. They deal with all these mental, emotional changes, and they turn to drugs to fix them. And the pharmaceutical industry isn't doing much to help that, obviously. And the rest of everyone else, if they're not overdosing on drugs, they're sadly committing suicide. And I want to be part of the change to correct that, to reduce that, and to help get people's lives back on track. I'm not a miracle worker. I'm not a therapist. But part of what I do is get to the core of your limiting beliefs and change those. Get you back on a more positive track. Find goals. You may not have goals now, but you will by the time our session's over. And I've got a whole bunch of worksheets, workbooks, things I take you through, practices. We can do exercises. And it's a lot of work. And I tell my clients this up front because I don't want you getting into this thinking that I'm just going to sit down with you, you're going to tell me your problems, and I'm going to tell you the answers. It's not how this works. I'm not a psychiatrist. I can't prescribe you medicine. This is something you're going to have to work through on your own. So I wanted to kind of get my practices out there to more people. I wanted to be able to help more people because I live in a small town and I help the surrounding Triad area of North Carolina, but I want to be able to get to people in Texas. And I want to have actual conversations with these people. So when they reach out to me, I want them to have an outlet, whether it's social media, whether it's email, whatever the case is. I want these people to be able to get in contact with me and ask me for help. Because if they're not getting people in their lives, friends, family, if they don't feel like they can run to them, I want them to know that they can run to me. I want them to know that there is someone out there that cares. So that's part of why I'm doing this. I want to bring you guys some laughs. I want to bring you guys some great interviews, some knowledge, and some kick-ass mindset. So the other day, for those of you who don't know, I'm like pretty much obsessed with podcasts myself. I listened to Rachel Hollis on repeat. The other day, I heard an amazing episode that she put out. And one of the things, I actually wrote it down, but one of the things she said was, Be careful that the Kool-Aid salesman has actually made money in a way other than selling the Kool-Aid. Now, she attributes this quote to someone else, but she goes on to say, this means if the only reason that the person is wealthy, is successful, has built a business, is because they're teaching other people to be wealthy and successful and build a business, you should be real wary. She says you need to ground yourself in real business books written by real business owners who have goals similar to yours. And for me, that hit home because I talked to you guys about an MLM I was a part of. And one of the things I encountered was a coach, a quote unquote mentor, telling me stuff like, oh, you can't afford to come to conference, just charge it and pay it off at a later date. And when I was talking about, well, look, we're going into debt, trying to reach these PV goals and stuff like that, they would brag about how they actually didn't pay their mortgage for a few months just so they would make their PV goals. And it wasn't them trying to be, I don't think they were trying to negatively impact people, but the way it came off was it was negatively impacting people because we felt pressured to meet these goals, these PV goals. And I just didn't, I sucked myself into it and I was like, well, I gotta help the team. I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta reach these PV goals. And I put myself in a real bad situation. And I ended up losing quite a bit of money in this organization because I didn't elicit any common sense. That was on me. I listened to these people because, hey, they were claimed experts in this industry, and I did my research, and it seemed like everything was legit on the surface. But the longer I spent in this organization, I realized that that wasn't always the case. And so I've learned through this bout how to really run a business, what a real business consists of, business plans, finances, profit margins, everything. Because I researched the hell out of it to figure out what this company did have and what it didn't have. So one of the things I want to talk about is make sure you're listening to a coach that wants to push you in ways that won't devastate you financially. And that's big, right? So failure is a certainty. It will definitely happen on the road to progress, but financial failure is preventable. Everything that happened to me in the process could have been preventable. I could have been smarter. I could have invested in other sources of income. I could have actually put that back into investments and other passive forms of income. I could have been smarter. So that's on me. I'm not blaming anyone for my mistakes. I actually appreciate the experience. I appreciate that failure because I learned an awful lot from it, and I made some awesome relationships. My local team was fantastic. The people I still talk to, I'm so grateful to have them in my life. They're still such driven people. But I'm grateful for everything. The hard truth, I almost went bankrupt on an MLM before I was 28 years old. Straight up, that's the truth. But it's okay to have a fear of financial failure. And I think people have gotten in the habit of telling other people, oh, no, you can't have a fear of anything. You can't be fearful of financial failure. You have to take risks. But when your risks put you in a place where you could go bankrupt, be very cautious because this is something you're allowed to fear. Entrepreneurs are never out of ideas, ever. If you are one, then when we see a problem, we think of a million ways we can fix it, and we'll start jumping on it right then. If no one stops us, or if we don't stop ourselves, we'll open a car repair shop that's also selling CBD oil, who's also got shoe repair, and we got all this stuff going on, and most small businesses can't afford to take financial risks. So it makes me angry with myself when I think of all the decisions I made, all the ridiculous financial decisions I made, and the people I allowed myself to accept advice from, people who didn't have the results I wanted. But then I think of how much I've grown and how far I've come from all those failures, and I move on. I could sit around and bitch and be mad and, piss and moan to everybody about what I've been through and how bad it was and yada, yada, yada. But here's the thing. What I've gained from my experiences over just 1 year with this business, if I hadn't taken that risk, if I hadn't taken that chance, I would never have learned that. I would still be in a job I hate and wouldn't have any idea how to get out. I wouldn't be out of my comfort zone. Every day I do one thing that places me out of my comfort zone. And it doesn't have to do with finances necessarily. It could be something as simple as having a conversation with a stranger, making a new friend, maybe going to a store I've never been in and talking to a whole bunch of people there. I don't know. It just depends on the day and what opportunities presented to me, and I take advantage of the opportunity. But that's one thing that has really helped me. So when you ask me what my why is, why I'm doing this, is because I want to help everyone, right? But specifically, I want to make sure that the LGBTQ community knows how appreciated they are, how being vulnerable is okay. We can talk about that. We can talk about the shit we've gone through and how we're stronger because of it. It's okay. No one's making fun of you. I came out when I was 23. That's old, guys. But it's because I was holding back a lot of stuff that I didn't even realize I was holding on to. So I want a safe place that people feel comfortable coming to. I want a place where people who are getting involved with new stuff, maybe they're, taking business risk and they don't have anybody to talk to me. Maybe you're getting involved in new relationships that you're scared about. Talk to me. Man, I've been through it all. I've been through some crazy relationships, and I definitely don't put all of it off on the other guy, right? Because whoever I was with, it was not their fault. I'm not going to put it off on that person, because here's the thing. At the end of the day, the common denominator in the failure of my relationships was me. And until I got my shit straight, I would not have been able to make it work with anybody. So my wife came along at the perfect time. And, which is why we did our interview together. I wanted to give you guys something you've been asking for. When I took a poll about what new content would you like to see, I actually got a majority of the results were from men, and they want to know more about relationships. So I can't let down my audience. I got to give you guys what you want, right? So you want a podcast on relationships? That's what we did. I interviewed Laura. We got the down and dirty of what made our marriage work, what things hurt, and how we made it, schedule changes, things like that. So I hope you guys tune in for that episode as well. And I hope this has given you some answers about why I do what I do. So at the end of the day, if you're looking to start something, whether it's a personal brand or you're starting a business, you need to find your niche, right? Well, think about where you found lack in your life. What did you go to search for you didn't find? Whether it was on the internet search or it was out in life with a job or whatever. The one time that you were really looking hard for something that would have helped you and it wasn't there. Maybe that's where you should start. So with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing day. Hit me up with any questions, comments, concerns. Give us a like, share with your friends, and subscribe. And that should be it. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye.